So if you want to talk about anyone indoctrinating your children, whatever, you indoctrinate kids with religion all the time. Sorry, the you was proverbial. I'm not blaming you, the viewer, unless... Hi, I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and this is all the queer media that made me the anachronistic stage witch you see before you. Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Chippendale Rescue Ranger. Come on, Chip and Dale. Male friendships in the media are so tenuous. I guess I was watching Sesame Street at the same time, and Bert and Ernie are the same, different side of the same coin, baby. At that age, I did not know that Bert and Ernie and Chip and Dale were queer-coded, but I was picking up on something from Batman and Robin. The first queer-coded character that I saw myself in was named Morgana on the show Darkwing Duck. And she was a goose who was styled after and based on Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. And I used to call myself Morgana. And that was until I saw Magica Dispel in DuckTales. Scrooge McDuck! And then I was like, oh, wow. Because Morgana was chaotic neutral, I think. Whereas Magica was chaotic bad. And I'm just a chaotic good. That's what I am. The first drag-coded character I saw on screen was Ursula. My aunt was like one of my three mothers, and she used to sing A Part of Your World with me, and I would do the ah. When she wanted to like tease me, she would do the Ursula laugh, which was just oh, ah, ah, oh. And then later, when I was a teenager, starting to secretly absorb John Waters' content, and I saw Divine, I was like, something's clicking here. And I found out Ursula was based on Divine, and I was like, hey, wow, Disney was working it in there. All the way back when I was itty-bitty. So if you want to talk about anyone indoctrinating your children, whatever, you indoctrinate kids with religion all the time. Sorry, the you was proverbial. I'm not blaming you, the viewer, unless Ursula inspires my drag to this day. I was picking up on something that felt like something wasn't fair about Ursula's setup. And then when Sherry Renee Scott played Ursula in the Broadway musical, they kind of fleshed out this character more. She was equally as powerful as her brother, but she had been dethroned. And she really does believe she's teaching a lesson about don't give up your agency as a woman. You know, I always wanted to know, where the hell did Ursula come from? You know, why aren't we concerned with Ursula's origins? And they tried to touch on it in The Little Mermaid 2 by creating Ursula's sister named Morgana. They missed the mark, I think. I want Ursula's. That's the next live action movie, and I'll play her. I'll play her. My first fictional crush has to be a toss-up between Batman and Aladdin. Okay, when I was very young, I had a Barbie, right? A red-headed Barbie. Her neck broke, and I carried around the head because it was the hair that I cared about. But I also had a Batman figurine that I really loved. And I think people thought that I, was just showing both sides, but I loved the Batman figurine because he was my boyfriend. He was my boyfriend, and I kept that secret. But in my mind, I was Catwoman having, a torrid love affair with my Batman figurine. But Aladdin I just loved Aladdin. I think Aladdin's responsible for my proclivity for bare feet. It's Aladdin and Gaston. Like, Aladdin started it, Gaston nailed it in. My longest fictional crush, because I think I've let go of those past ones. Merlin, young Merlin in the series Merlin. Oof. My first favorite drag queen was Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, honestly. Like, she was my first taste of something that I knew was for me. I've just always been drawn to witches. So Elvira just really spoke to me. And then I discovered Farla Jean Merman early in life, as well as Peaches Christ, as well as RuPaul and Lady Bunny. And I started to see that drag was a spectrum and not everyone did it the same. My introduction to RuPaul's Drag Race was season 2. Because when season 1 came out, I was in college working at drag bars to try to scrounge together money, and my life was drag. And I said, the last thing I need to do is come home and watch drag on the television. And then season 2 comes out, and my friends insisted that I watch the Snatch Game episode, and from that point on, I was hooked. I met Bibi Zahara Benet, not having seen her season, when she came to Portland, and I just knew something's different about her. She took the potion. A big thing that has shaped me into the drag queen that I am today is my friendships with drag queens. I just really believe that the best part about drag is doing it with friends, you know? Doing drag alone feels weird. Obviously, Ben de la Creme and I, we are interwoven together. But I have strong relationships with so many people. Like, I've wanted something that could get me and Dela and Bob and Monet all working together, because Bob and Monet are two of my very favorite people to riff off of.
It would get so loud in a room with all of you together.
That sounds racist. Or queerphobic or something. No, we are very loud. And Bianca Del Rio. Okay, so if it would be the 5 of us, we'd break sound barriers, because Bianca literally says when she wants to hang out with me, she says, let's get together and cackle. She doesn't say, let's talk, let's get together and catch up. She says cackle, because when we get together, my laugh starts busting eardrums. The clip that plays in my mind rent-free from Drag Race is Pearl in the Shakespeare Scene Challenge. Just, I think about that a lot. When she like dropped the sword and just kind of sunk behind the thing, I think about that a lot. The first trans celebrity that I heard of, it was the talk shows on Ricki Lake. So I know if I went back, I'd recognize some friends. But I remember seeing that, and it sparked a conversation between my mother and I, because we watched it together, and I basically asked, is that a possibility? And I was like 6 or 7, and my mom, that's when my mom and I first had our conversation about my gender identity, and we had conversations many times throughout my life. I had a conversation with my mother right before beginning my medical transition, where I told her, I'm gonna begin my medical transition. And she was like, by the way, I'm intersex. I was like, oh, wow. So we've been going on that journey together, and it's been really cosmic and spiritual and beautiful. Gosh, I was just talking about Scar with Z-Way, and then everyone brought up Jafar. And I was thinking, well, yeah, Jafar, except when he tries to marry the princess, he gets real cis straight white man about it, if you catch my drift. So I have to say that lion without the lion's mane, who is he, King Richard in Robin Hood? Oh, please, and all his rings and the crown that doesn't fit in his big robe. He's just like Scar, but Nelly. I think my life is a Broadway show now. If it was a movie, I would want Tilda Swinton to play me. I'm not going to explain that further. If my life was a Broadway musical, I would want Jen Simard to play me, hands down. We have this joke whenever we see each other. She waves at me and goes, "There's my friend. Hi, that's my friend." And then I go, "There's my body double." She's about 2 feet shorter, and we have other differences. The first queer scene on TV or film had to be when I first went to Hollywood Video and rented Queer as Folk and watched that Daddy Get It On with That Twink. And I was like, and then my mom burst into the room and said, "What are you watching?" And I said, "TV." My first Broadway show, it was a touring production of Rent. I saw it in Portland, Oregon. I was too young to understand it, so it all went over my head. But I saw the character Angel, and I said, okay, I'm paying attention. And then my first Broadway show I saw on Broadway was Fran Drescher's run in Cinderella, and I was enchanted. My first favorite Broadway character remains my favorite Broadway character to this day, Mrs. Lovett, because she is the leading lady and she is a character. And I love when character actors get to be front and center because I was told that that wasn't going to be the case, but that was a lie. The theater archetype when I was young, was the person who needed all the attention on them all the time. And then I found drag, and that's where that went. The Broadway role I'm dying to play next, I've got 2 in my mind right now. Mame and The Witch in Into the Woods. But I feel like that just happened too, so I'm leaning more Mame this time because I think people need to be taught exactly what chosen family is. Obviously, Mame needs some updates. Let's not be. But I just did Pirates the Penzance musical, and I think beautiful things happen when you bring period stories into the present time. The title of my one-woman show would be, Ha! Well, everyone, thank you for watching me recount my queer memories. Sorry I didn't break down into utter tears this time. I fucking love her for it. I actually love her so much for doing that. But I love you all very much. This was lots of fun, so keep watching this channel. Are my queer roots showing? Does everyone make that joke?